You're 32, sitting in your car after another exhausting day, wondering why everyone said your 30s would be when life finally makes sense. But instead, you feel more lost than you did at 25. Here's what no one told you. They lied about your 30s being easier, and you deserve to know the truth before you got here. Level 1, the career lie. What they said vexes what really happens. They told you that by 30, you'd have it figured out. Your career would be on track, you'd know your worth, and you'd finally be taken seriously in meetings. You imagined walking into your 30s with confidence, a clear path, and the respect you'd been working toward for a decade. Here's what really happens. You're more qualified than ever, but now you're competing with 25-year-olds who work for less money and don't ask for work-life balance. You're watching younger colleagues get promoted while you're passed over for being too expensive or overqualified. The experience you thought would be your advantage becomes the reason you're overlooked. The truth no one talks about. Your 30s are when you discover that meritocracy is a myth designed to keep you working harder for less. Companies want your experience but don't want to pay for it. They want your maturity but prefer the energy of someone who hasn't learned to set boundaries yet. You're not failing at your career. The system is designed to extract maximum value from your experience while offering minimum reward. You deserve to know that career success in your 30s often means choosing between being respected and being liked, between earning what you're worth and being considered difficult. The game changed, but no one told you the new rules. Level 2, the relationship reality, love after 30. They told you that dating in your 30s would be easier because you'd know what you want. You'd attract mature partners who were ready for real commitment. You imagined meeting someone who appreciated your independence, your established life, your clarity about what you won't tolerate. Here's what really happens. You're dating men who are 40 but act 25, who want the benefits of your emotional maturity without offering any in return. You're meeting people who are intimidated by your success, your standards, or your refusal to play games you outgrew years ago. The dating pool feels smaller, but somehow the quality hasn't improved. The truth no one talks about. Men in their 30s often want women who are accomplished enough to be impressive, but not so accomplished that they feel threatened. They want someone independent enough to not be needy, but not so independent that they don't need validation. You're not too picky. You're dealing with a generation of men who were raised to expect emotional labor without learning to provide it. You deserve to know that having standards in your 30s makes you intimidating, and that the same qualities that make you an excellent partner, independence, self-knowledge, boundaries, are often seen as obstacles by people who aren't ready for an equal relationship. Level 3, the friendship shift. When your circle changes, they told you that your 30s would bring deeper, more meaningful friendships. You'd finally be past the drama and superficiality of your 20s. You imagined having a solid group of women who understood your journey and supported your growth. Here's what really happens. Your friends are scattered across different life stages. Some are married with kids, some are single and dating, some are focused on career, some are dealing with family crises. The easy camaraderie of your 20s, when everyone was figuring things out together, is replaced by the challenge of maintaining connections across increasingly different realities. You're watching friendships fade not because of conflict, but because of logistics. You're tired of being the one who always initiates plans. You're feeling guilty for not being more available to friends with children, while simultaneously feeling abandoned by friends who disappeared into relationships or motherhood. The truth no one talks about. Friendship in your 30s requires intentional effort that no one prepared you for. The organic connections of your 20s don't automatically translate into the scheduled, planned interactions that adult friendship requires. You're not a bad friend for struggling with this. You're navigating a transition that society pretends happens naturally, but actually requires skills no one teaches. You deserve to know that losing friends in your 30s isn't always about growing apart. Sometimes it's about growing up at different speeds, and that's not anyone's fault. Level 4, the body betrayal, when everything changes. They told you that 30 was the new 20? That age is just a number, that you'd feel young forever. You imagined maintaining the energy and resilience of your 20s while gaining the wisdom of experience. Here's what really happens. Your body starts keeping score in ways it never did before. You can't drink like you used to without paying for it for days. You need more sleep, but somehow get less quality rest. Your metabolism slows down despite eating the same foods and doing the same exercises. Recovery from workouts, late nights, or stress takes longer than it used to. You're dealing with the first signs of aging while living in a culture that worships youth. You're watching your face change in subtle ways that make you feel like you're losing yourself. You're experiencing the weird grief of mourning your younger body while trying to appreciate the one you have now. The truth, no one talks about. Your 30s are when your body stops forgiving your 20s. Every late night, every skipped meal, every stressful period you push through without rest starts demanding payment. This isn't failure. This is your body asking you to finally learn how to take care of it properly. You deserve to know that the physical changes of your 30s aren't about getting old. They're about your body finally demanding the respect and care you've been postponing since your teens. Level 5, the pressure cooker. When everyone expects everything. They told you that your 30s would be when you finally had choices. You'd be established enough to make decisions based on what you want, not what you need to survive. Here's what really happens. Your 30s are when everyone expects you to have everything figured out simultaneously. You should have a thriving career, a stable relationship, a social life, a fitness routine, financial security, and clear life goals. You should be successful, but not intimidating, independent, but not isolated, confident, but not arrogant. You're dealing with the pressure to make major life decisions. Marriage, children, career changes, buying a home, while still figuring out who you are. You're watching peers make choices that seem definitive while you're still exploring options. You feel behind and ahead at the same time, depending on which metric you're using. The truth, no one talks about. Your 30s are when society expects you to perform adulthood perfectly while still learning what that means for you. The pressure isn't coming from your own inadequacy. It's coming from a culture that pretends there's a timeline for human development that everyone should follow. The revelation. What your 30s are really about. Here's what changes everything. Your 30s aren't about having it all figured out. They're about figuring out what having it all means to you specifically, not to society, not to your family, not to your Instagram feed. They're about learning that the life you thought you wanted might not be the life that actually fits you. Your 30s are when you discover that the rules you've been following were written by people who don't live your life. The timeline you've been measuring yourself against was created by a society that benefits from your anxiety about not being enough yet. The exhaustion you feel isn't because you're failing at your 30s. It's because you're trying to meet expectations that were never designed for your success. You're trying to fit into a template that was created before women had the options you have now. The truth about deserving you deserve to know that your 30s are not about proving yourself anymore. You've already proven yourself. Your 20s were about proving you could do it. Your 30s are about deciding what it actually is for you. You deserve to know that feeling lost in your 30s doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're finally asking the right questions. The clarity everyone promised would come automatically actually comes from doing the hard work of figuring out what you actually want, not what you think you should want. You deserve to know that the pressure you feel to have everything figured out by 35 is artificial. Life doesn't follow a schedule, and the people who seem to have it all together are usually just better at hiding their uncertainty. You deserve to know that your 30s can be about unlearning as much as learning, unlearning the need to please everyone, unlearning the belief that your worth is tied to your productivity, unlearning the idea that there's only one way to be successful. What you actually deserve. You deserve to take up space without apologizing. You deserve to change your mind about what you want without being called flaky. You deserve to set boundaries without being called difficult. You deserve to prioritize your own needs without being called selfish. You deserve relationships that add to your life instead of requiring you to diminish yourself. You deserve work that respects your time and compensates your value. You deserve friendships that survive schedule changes and life transitions. You deserve to feel proud of how far you've come instead of anxious about how far you have to go. You deserve to celebrate your growth instead of criticizing your pace. The real power of your 30s. Your 30s are when you finally have enough experience to know what doesn't work for you and enough confidence to say no to it. They're when you stop asking permission to live your life the way that makes sense to you. Your 30s are when you realize that the approval you've been seeking from others matters less than the approval you give yourself. They're when you understand that being liked by everyone is impossible and unnecessary. Your 30s are when you discover that the life that looks perfect from the outside might feel empty on the inside, and that the life that feels right to you might not make sense to anyone else. And that's okay. Moving forward, the next time someone tells you that you should have it figured out by now, remember that having it figured out is a myth that keeps you from enjoying the process of becoming who you're meant to be. The next time you feel behind because you're not married, or don't have kids, or haven't bought a house, or haven't found your dream job, remember that there is no universal timeline for a meaningful life. The next time you feel guilty for wanting something different than what you thought you wanted, remember that growth requires changing your mind, and changing your mind requires courage. Your 30s aren't about arriving at a destination. They're about learning to enjoy the journey while you're still figuring out where you want to go. And you deserve to take as long as you need to get there. What's one thing you wish someone had told you about your 30s before you got here? Share it in the comments, because the women coming behind us deserve to know the truth too. And if you're ready to stop apologizing for taking up space and start claiming what you deserve, watch my next video about why setting boundaries in your 30s isn't selfish. It's survival,